Do nuns drink alcohol? They certainly do. The answer to that is yes, and if you'd like to ask me what my tipple is, it's a bottle of Newcastle brown ale. Hello, my name's Sister Gabriel and I'm a Poor Clare sister from Arundel. And I'm here this afternoon with this honesty box and I'm going to answer some questions that you have put to me. So here we go. Da-dum. How long have you been a nun? Very simple, 30 years. Okay, so this question says, what does it mean to be cloistered? So cloistered nuns are women, they can be men as well, who live in one particular place and they spend all of their life in that place and they pray in that place, they work in that place, hopefully they die in that place and they live the fullness of life in that place. So cloistered means being in this one space where we live our life as fully and joyfully and lovingly as we can. Next question. What did you do before you became a nun? Before I entered the monastery, I was an engineer. I studied aeronautical and mechanical engineering. And I worked for a year in Czechoslovakia, helping to improve British safety standards in their machinery. So maybe that might dispel for you some myths about what you think nuns do before they enter. Right. Next question. Is it hard to be celibate? It can be hard to be celibate. I think at different moments in my life, it's been more difficult than at other times. But I think my capacity to love just grows and grows and grows, and it's expressed in a different way. But it can be challenging. What happens when we die? I wish I knew. I've never met anybody who's died and come back to tell me. So the honest answer to that question is, I don't know. But I really hope that there's a place called heaven where life is complete and full and that we go there, whatever there means. Next question. Do you have celebrity crushes? I love on my holiday to watch a great film. And sometimes the beauty of a film, the beauty of the characters and the story, and sometimes the actors that are playing the parts, I can just really, really enjoy if that's what having a crush is. So I'm just thinking at this moment that a film that I saw a couple of months ago that I've actually, which is very unusual for me, I have now watched twice, is A Star is Born, and it's got Lady Gaga in it and
Bradley Cooper.
Thank you. And Bradley Cooper. So could I have a celebrity crush on Bradley Cooper? Well, his eyes are certainly ones that I could stare into. But it's a great film. It's a true story, has a sad ending, but it is a fabulous film.
Great choice. Great film.
Great eyes. Ooh, this is a really good question. What is sin? I think that sin is something that takes you away from God. This is a really important question, I think. How do you feel about allegations of corruption and abuse within the Catholic Church? Well, I'm ashamed of that and I am sorry for that and I am deeply saddened by that, and I really pray for the people who have been abused by people in the Catholic Church, and I hope that they, if they haven't done so far, are listened to and cared for. I like this question. What are misconceptions people have about nuns? I think often a misconception is that we're all very holy and pious, and that we don't have a sense of humour, that we don't know what it's like, all the human emotions, and that somehow we spend all our day on our knees, and that we never have bad thoughts about people, and that we're just perfect. And that is just a massive, massive, massive misconception, because all nuns are human beings, and we all go through every human emotion. So I think that would be the biggest misconception, really, that we're just very holy, pious people, which hopefully we are a bit, but we're human and flawed. Can you explain your clothes? What do they symbolise? This is what you call a habit. So it's brown because I'm a Franciscan, and you might see that it's sort of in the shape of a cross. It's a bit big, it's not fitted. And that's the symbolism somewhere partly of our life. I'm wearing a cord. Can you see this? This cord has 1, 2, 3, 4 knots on it. And that represents the vows that I make. So that's poverty, chastity, obedience, and enclosure. And I'm wearing what you will think is a rosary, but it's actually called a Franciscan crown. So a rosary has what they call 5 decades with 10 beads. And this one has 7 decades with 10 beads. And it's called a Franciscan crown. So it's a special prayer that that St. Francis gave to us, and that we can pray with. Oh, I'm wearing a veil, aren't I? So this is what they call a veil. And that's a sign, just a sign of my consecration. And it's a sign that I belong to God. And something else, I'm wearing a ring. This ring I made at my solemn profession when I made a life commitment to the order. And when we make a life commitment to the order, we can ask our family if they'd like to give us the ring, so our family can give it to us. And when I made my life commitment, I asked my mum if she would give me my ring for my life commitment, and she said she would. And the day I made my life commitment, she took this ring off her finger and gave it to me and said, I hope you'll be as faithful to your vows as I've been to mine. Describe a typical day. I think the thing about being a contemplative nun is that because we live in a monastery and we don't teach and we don't nurse, so our main work is our life of prayer. So of course we have to run the house and we have to earn our living. We run a guest house. Once a month we have a day off, and on that day it's completely free and I can more or less spend the day as I like. And I tell you, there's nobody in this community that doesn't take their day off once a month. What is the point of being a nun? Do you know, I'm not sure. What I do know is that by being a nun, I'm giving my life to God. And I know that for me, there's no better way of giving my life. So I guess maybe there are many points really of being a nun. Perhaps I'm a witness to something more than everyday life. Perhaps I'm a witness to a higher power. Perhaps I'm a witness to the fact that there's another way of living. The point of being a nun is to give your life to God. Part of the point of being a nun is, whether people believe it or not, is to pray for them and to care for the world in a way, I think, that in a unique way, to care for people and to be a sign that there's something more. Okay. Who's your boss? I'm not sure. I like to be my own boss. So in religious life, we have structures and we have a way of living. So we have what they call an abbess. But St. Clare believed that we were sisters who lived together as sisters. And she never wanted the title of abbess, but in order for 23 women to live together, there has to be some sort of structure with that. I don't see the abbess as my boss because she's my sister and we're all sisters together. But maybe she'd be the go-to person if I needed something. But I guess my ultimate boss and the person that I answer to is God. Next question. Do nuns drink alcohol? They certainly do. The answer to that is yes, and if you'd like to ask me what my tipple is, it's a bottle of Newcastle brown ale. Interesting. Can anyone become a nun, or is there a vetting process? The answer is yes to both. Anybody could become a nun if they wanted to. And yes, there is a vetting process. If you wanted to live in our community, you would have to be a Catholic. You would have to be, you'd have to have lived life a bit, probably in your mid-20s. You would have to not be married. You would, and then I think lots of people have ideas about nuns and what they think a nun is. And so we would want to meet you and get to know you and understand what you were, why you felt attracted to our life. So there's a whole process over a period of time of seeing whether we're a match. Because it's like two people who fall in love. You might be attracted to a man, but until you get to know him, you don't know, whether it would work or not. And it's the same in a religious community, in that you might feel called to religious life, but every community is different. So you would have to visit them and meet the sisters and see whether you were a good fit with them. You would also have to have a psychological assessment.
Really?
Oh, yes.
What are they looking for in that assessment?
They're looking to know whether you're a balanced person. Obviously, it didn't work with me. Often, the thing is with our life, because it's very structured, because you live a celibate life, it takes a certain type of person in order to live that life. And actually, to live in a community of 23 women can be very, very challenging. A psychological assessment is just going to assess somewhere whether you really have the necessary requirements to begin something that actually is very challenging. Have you ever been abused because of your religion? Abuse takes many shapes and forms, and sometimes people can be prejudiced when they see me in the street if I'm out wearing a habit. But sometimes I think that's maybe because they've had a bad experience of the church and they want to take that out on somebody who is wearing a habit. And that's hard but somewhere I have to accept that wearing this habit, then I do represent the church. So I try not to take it personally, but yes, I have been verbally abused in the street because of my religion.
How do you feel in those moments?
Well, I've been spat on, so but I think how do I feel? I don't feel respected, because I think we should treat every person with respect and with courtesy and with kindness, and so and even if we've been hurt by people, I wouldn't wish to retaliate like that. I had an experience I'm 53, and it's the first time in my life a month ago that I was really, really, really scared. And I was on a train going from Chester to London, and a whole group of football fans were getting on a train to go to a match. And I have absolutely no problem with having a laugh. I don't even mind being joked about, because I've been joked about before on a train, and I can even laugh at myself. But it's very, very scary if you're on your own and you've got a group of people who surround you and start chanting at you, and in a sort of aggressive, in a non-physical way, and that can be quite scary.
Sorry you went through that. It doesn't sound...
God, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was absolutely terrible. It was so terrible, and they were drunk. You see, it was alcohol-induced, but I mean, what they said was just unspeakable. But there we go. It's life, isn't it? I think sometimes, you know, the way that we treat people, if we're treated badly, I suppose it gives me a sense of empathy for other people who are treated badly simply because of the colour of their skin or their ethnicity. And it's awful, really. Yeah. Right. Is Mother Teresa the GOAT of all nuns? So maybe for some people Mother Teresa is, because some of you, she's been in our lifetime, but if you think that Christianity's been around for 2,000 years, there are some pretty amazing GOAT nuns. So she may be yours, but she's not mine.
Who is yours?
So my GOAT nun somewhere, if I've given my life to be a Poor Clare, it has to be Francis and Clare somewhere. What do you think of the name LADbible? It's interesting, isn't it, that in contemporary society, to be a lad, to be a Bible, a LADbible means that it's going to be like a go-to place to find out lots of things. Interesting, isn't it, that we still think the Bible is a place for that to happen. So if it makes people think, I don't mind. Have you ever fancied a man? Should I return to Bradley Cooper? Well, let's put Bradley Cooper aside. I have. You know, I had a life before I became a nun. I went to university, I fell in love. Yes, I have. You might even be surprised to know that some nuns have fancied men while they've been nuns. Because you're a nun doesn't mean that you're not a sexual being and that you don't have a sexuality. I'm not some anodyne woman who doesn't have feelings and emotions. Of course, I have fancied a man. Do you wash clothes separately? How do they not get mixed up? So, the secret of this is that in our community we all have a letter. And so one of our sisters has the lovely job of washing the clothes of 22 nuns every week. And she puts her whites and her colours in separate baskets. And once they're all washed, each letter has a pile, and that pile is put in a certain place. And it's so lovely at the beginning of the week to pick up your fresh pile of laundry that has been washed, cared for and folded with love. Have you ever been in love? Yes. Sound of Music or Sister Act? I think it has to be Sister Act. Are you allowed to use the internet? Absolutely. I think the question behind that for me is, are you in touch with contemporary society? You know, are you stuck in the Middle Ages? But we absolutely use the internet. We use the internet for our online shopping. We use the internet for our bookings for our guest house. We use the internet to make appointments for people who want to come and see us. We have a website and people regularly contact us for their prayer requests or if they need help, and we check that every day. This isn't a question. It says, "Dear nun, I can't stop sinning. Please pray for me." Well, whoever you are, I will. But I would say maybe you need to ask someone about what it means to sin, because actually there's so much in life to be enjoyed that I would think about that more than the fact that you think you're sinning, because maybe you're not. Next question. Is everything forgivable in the eyes of God? Absolutely. What does it mean to confess? How does it absolve sin? Very interesting question. I don't know if you've had the experience, but sometimes we have a trusted friend and we speak to them about what's going on in our life. And I think that's really important in life. In the Catholic tradition, we have a particular sacrament that we call confession. But somewhere, what it is really is a moment where you can look at yourself before God and say, "I'm sorry." And I think it's the second part is, how does it absolve sin? You know, somewhere, like we're all sinners somewhere, and that's about being separated from God. And to confess means really, I think, somewhere to have the humility to acknowledge where I am, who I am, and say, maybe I could do better. Do you have a favourite commandment? Yes. Love one another. Are you in love with Jesus? Yes. Next question. What do you wear to the beach? I haven't been to the beach for a very long time. I wear my habit every day. It's a sign of my consecration. It's a sign of being a Franciscan, and it's important to me. So I guess if I'm going to the beach or if I go for a walk along the beach, I'll be wearing my habit.
Do you have more than one?
Yeah, 2. I think for us Franciscans, what's really important is that we live a simple life and we don't have a lot of things. And we can get caught up in what we wear and how we look a lot. And a Franciscan really doesn't worry about that, because more or less we put the same thing on every day. And it's about being simple. It's about wearing things out. I have a work dress. When I'm working, I have a habit that I wear when I'm working, and it has short sleeves. And I've had that habit for 20 years. So I think what's important for us, we like to recycle. We like to wear things out. We like to make the best use of everything. Is Jesus coming back? I hope so, but maybe not in my lifetime. We don't know.
What does that look like to you, him coming back?
I don't know. We don't know. You know, I think sometimes there are lots of things that are mystery, but our human condition wants to have answers and it wants to know. And we want to put everything in its box. And actually we can't, because do you know what? Some things are it's just a mystery and we don't know. And I think faith is about believing in something that can't be proven, that is an unknown, and that can draw you into something deeper that's beyond words. Do you ever regret the commitment you've given? I don't think I regret it, but I have questioned it. And I think that's part of the journey, because I think that when I entered the monastery at 23, I was a different person to the person I am now. And I think that in every walk of life, whatever life you live, you have your ups and your downs. And in all relationships, you have your ups and your downs. And I think that it's important to question the life that you're living. I think, is it Freud who said the unexamined life is not worth living? So I've thought about it, but no regrets. What is the vow of poverty? I've already said that we take 4 vows, but to be poor is to be simple, it's to be humble, it's to accept myself as I am and to accept everyone else as they are. And it's about not being possessive of anything, any person, any one thing. And to be poor is to have an open and transparent heart. And to be poor means that somewhere I'm always in need and that I can welcome the other person. And to be poor means that somewhere I don't want to exercise any power over anybody else. What role does music play in the church, in your life? Music plays a really important part in my life, and I absolutely love singing. And when we pray in our chapel, for some of our offices, we sing them every day. So singing is a really important part. I can't remember who said, the person who sings prays twice. We were invited by Decca Records to think about the possibility of making an album with 2 amazing musicians, James Morgan and Juliet Porchin. And we had a ball doing it. And we made that album during lockdown. And we made it just because we thought our family and friends would enjoy listening to some of our music. And what we never expected was that somewhere the essence of our life and the way that we live, we wanted to express in our music. And when everyone was in lockdown and having a really difficult, awful time, feeling isolated and alone and struggling, as many people did, our music somehow brought a lot of peace and calm in people's lives. And we were absolutely amazed and could not believe how well our music was received by the public. So yes, singing is a really important part of our life. We love doing it, and we love to share something of who we are through our music. The last and final question. How do you know it's all real? I don't, actually. I don't know that it's all real. I have no idea. I've got no proof. I can't tell you that this is all real. But what I can tell you is that for me, it's the best way for me to live my life as fully, creatively and joyfully as I can. I hope it's real.
What a Scientology agent will do is they'll get a list of everybody you know. I was told when the head of the harassment division in the UK defected that they'd spent £2 million harassing me up until that point.